Okay, so let's be real for a second here. We all know Hit is an absolute menace in Universe 6. His time skip makes him practically untouchable to standard fighters, but against a god of destruction like Beerus, come on man, the rules of combat completely change. You see, the core reason Hit's technique fail, and I'm about to share this with you, is because the sheer nature of Divine Key is just too powerful for Hit. In the manga, it's explicitly shown that standard mortals cannot even sense Divine Key unless they've undergone specific godly training. We know this, right? But it goes deeper than just hiding your power level. You see, Divine Key exerts a physical pressure that warps the space around the user. A little bit different. Hit's signature move, the time skip, relies on storing pockets of time in a personal dimension. He jumps a tenth of a second into the future, and that works perfectly against someone maybe like Vegeta and Super Saiyan Blue initially, because Vegeta is still interacting with linear space at that time. But a destroyer operates on a completely different cosmic frequency. It's why you really can't compare the two at the long tail end, but that's a good example to use. Reference. And an unknown detail most fans overlook is how the hierarchy of power is actually structured. You see, destroyers such as Beerus aren't just strong guys with high power levels, they are fundamental forces of nature. So, when Hit freezes time, I should say, he is freezing the mortal plane, and because Beerus exists partially outside of that standard casual loop, you can't really trap a shadow if you can't trap or control the light source. That's more or less what has happened and what is happening with Hit in those situations. So if Hit were to try to use his Flash Fist or an assassination strike against Lord Beerus, he's going to run into the passive barrier of Hakai energy that surrounds a destroyer while in the midst of combat. This is not just simple armor here, guys. It's destruction energy that breaks down the molecular bonds of anything that it touches. We know that's how it works, at least when we see it on screen. So when you look at Hit's physical strikes, they would literally dissolve. They wouldn't be able to touch Lord Beerus. They would lose momentum before they even had a chance to make any real contact. Now that's more so telling you why it won't work. But let's look at the limitations of mortal assassinations on behalf of the legendary assassin. If we look at things from Hit's perspective, he has been the legendary assassin of Universe 6 for over 1,000 years. I think that's a fact they dropped that everybody just skipped over, even though they understand, I think, it means something. But have you really thought about it? 1,000 years for someone like Hit. He's not a deity, he's not a destroyer. He has never failed a contract. His entire fighting style is obviously built on supreme efficiency, one strike, one kill, done and completed in absolute stealth. You see, Hit's abilities, like his time skip and his parallel world dimension, are biological traits he's refined over a millennium. He freezes time, he locates the target's vital organs, and delivers a shockwave directly to the heart. It's pure anatomy and physics, so for any of you guys that are into that, you surely are following. But here's a tactical nightmare, I think, for the legendary assassin Hit. His godly physiology doesn't map to a mortal anatomy, okay? We don't even know if a god of destruction has a traditional nervous system or a heart that pumps blood the way mortals do. If you guys know this information, feel free to share. I haven't found anything that confirms it. But you can or cannot strike a vital pressure depending on where it's at. But you cannot strike a vital pressure point on someone's body who's running entirely off of divine energy, okay? Because it's not the same mortal energy, the same mortal frequency that we as humans operate on. And I would say an interesting piece of lore from the companion guides actually reveals that Hit's time storing dimension has a maximum capacity based on the power gap between him and his opponent. And I recall hearing that at some point in Dragon Ball Super during that Universe 6, Universe 7 tournament. We saw Son Goku break through Hit's time storing dimension with sheer force, and this was done strictly in the anime. Now against Lord Beerus, for our assassin, the power gap is so astronomically wide that Hit would not even be able to generate the pocket dimension necessary for him to use his technique. Isn't that crazy to think about? So the ambient gravity of Beerus's power, I think, would actually collapse under Hit's time pockets instantly. He just wouldn't have time to make anything work. So ultimately, I think the legendary assassin Hit is a product of the mortal realm. His techniques are designed to exploit the physical limitations of living creatures. But when you're faced with a deity who can erase a conceptual entity from its whole existence, Hit's 1,000 years plus of experience becomes entirely irrelevant. So Hit is playing chess, thinking he can maybe do something against someone like a Beerus, but he knows this. He knows he can't. Even though the interaction and situation with Champa, right, during that tournament where Champa was essentially trying to cheat the tournament, Hit was willing to go get, what was it, Frost, I think, that was trying to run away and find the Super Dragon Balls. Hit can play chess when he feels it's necessary. Beerus, however, Beerus just plays the board himself with himself. He doesn't have to react to anything. So as strong as these characters are and as cool and as powerful as Hit is, his techniques have no effect on any deity, especially that of Lord Beerus. So it's crazy to say without Hit's techniques, he looks like one of the weakest fighters technically going up against God of Destruction. And you couldn't say the same thing about Goku, Vegeta, or anybody else that can maybe rival Beerus's power, because Goku and Vegeta don't necessarily have to rely on a technique. They'll rely on a transformation potentially, but we've seen in some cases when Vegeta snaps when Bulma gets hit, sometimes all you need is the motivation.